Howard. I'm the founder of Power Your Research, an academic branding company where I help academics and educators increase their visibility, authority, and income without the expense of a publicist. And today, I want to give you 3 tips to lean into happiness. Now, I want to begin by talking about my thoughts and philosophy around happiness because happiness is a big thing today. We see self-help books about how to be happiness, how to achieve your happy life or whatever it is. And personally, I think of happiness as an emotional state in the same way I think about sadness, anger, or whatever other emotion that we experience as humans. I don't think it is beneficial for us to think that we can be in a 24/7 state of happiness. I think that's unrealistic, and I don't think that's how emotions work. I don't think anybody should be sad all the time, and I don't think anybody can be happy all the time. I actually think it's a better goal to be content and grateful and just be, and then to recognize and enjoy the moments of happiness when they come and try to maximize and increase the moments of happiness. And that's a conversation for another video, documenting the moments where you feel happy and that kind of thing. But just to give you context on how I think about happiness so you understand the 3 tips that I am about to share with you. So, leaning into happiness, the first tip is to lean into your creativity. I think that a lot of academics do not feel like they are creative people because they're researchers. And I 100% think that is untrue. I think doing research is a creative process and a creative pursuit. You have to make a number of decisions to write that research paper in terms of method, in terms of whether you're going to do qualitative or quantitative research, how you're going to structure the paper. There are different ways to structure a paper. Some of them are very formulaic, but sometimes you break those rules a little bit, and that is creative. The act of publishing is creative. You're putting something out in the world for people to respond to and interpret. That is a creative process. So I think leaning into happiness for the academic is leaning into your creativity and really convincing yourself that you are creative so that you can continue to think outside the box a little bit and put out work that is a little different than what everybody else is doing, as opposed to putting out the same work that your peers and colleagues are putting out. So give yourself permission to be creative, even though the educational system has taught you to color inside the lines. The second tip is lean into your impact. Okay, so I would venture to say that if you have a PhD and you're in the classroom teaching and you're doing research, you got into this work because you wanted to make an impact on people. You wanted to make an impact on the students that you teach, and you wanted to make an impact with your research. That is why you care about your research agenda and why you do the hard work of creating research and creating new knowledge. But I want to challenge you to lean into that impact outside of higher ed. There's a whole big world of people that need your work, need to know you exist. And higher ed tends to have us believe that we do not have value outside of a college campus, and that simply is not true. And so, one of the processes that I went through and was very committed to it, and as soon as I got my PhD, was I don't want my work to just be behind an academic paywall. I'm less concerned about the 10 researchers that are going to cite my work, and I'm more concerned about helping the people that I actually research and write about. To me, that is super important. Being able to translate my work for a mass audience. That's the impact that I want to make. And so if you go through that process of leaning into making impact in your community out here in what I call the real world, I think that you'll experience more of those moments of happiness. I'm happy when I get to go on interviews and talk about my research in comics. That makes me happy because it's getting recognized, it's helping people, it's challenging the status quo and all of those things that are in line with my mission, vision, and purpose. And so the third tip I want to share in terms of leaning into Happiness is thinking about your legacy. What do you want to leave behind for your kids? What do you want your work to mean after you're long gone? And yes, eventually we are not going to be here anymore, but your work's going to be here. I personally believe books will always be around. Books are the one thing that people will always want. And yes, ebooks are popular and audiobooks are popular, but books have stood the test of time. Writing something down that you can physically give to someone or leave on a wall, think about hieroglyphics. It's been around. Books have been around in different forms. And so I like to lean into, I want to get my thoughts out here, my research out here, my work out here, so that when I'm not here anymore, it still has the potential to make an impact. Has the potential to make an impact on my son, right? He'll be reading something randomly and be like, "Oh my goodness, my mom wrote that. This is an article from my mom in 2023," or whatever it is. And so I think if you can think about those three things, which are not what the typical academic is trained to think about, leaning into your creativity, leaning into leaving an impact, and leaning into thinking about your legacy beyond the college campus, I think you'll experience more of those moments of happiness and, more importantly, being content and grateful for where you are right now. So I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Jump on a free 30-minute call with me if you feel inclined to do so we can talk about your goals. Other than that, have